Hey guys, Gene here, and it's glad to be back. Finally have time, finally have space to even do these videos again, and we are going to start off with a deck showcase. I want to showcase each and every deck in a specific class that is viable in rotation for the new set Eternal Awakening. First off, we are going to start off with my personal favorite class, Shadowcraft, aka why I'm called Shadow John. Shadowcraft has been showing in three major archetypes. First, we have Aggro Shadow, which has been around for I think since last expansion. Necro Shadow, which is basically just Grimoire, Necromancy, just all that type of stuff. And then Aggro Shadow, which is a combo deck revolving around Fatal Order and the 7th mana amulet that gives whatever you reanimate back Storm. All these decks have been around since previous sets, just with the new set they just got a little bit more added consistency. So first up, we are going to start off with Aggro Shadow. This is the deck list that I have for Aggro Shadow. As you can see, this deck is just a deck with low enough curve and just try to kill your opponent as fast as possible with cards like Gold Rush Ghost, which is an amazing card at hands 5/7/3 Ghost, and on Evo you get added layering effects to your leader. But cards from the new set that this deck got are some much needed low end curve cards like Bone Fanatic. It is a 1 mana 1/1. When it dies, you Necromancy want to summon a skeleton. But it also gives you some late game, which on hand 6 it summons itself as a giant skull, which is a 8 mana 6/5 ward, and lasts for summon 2 skeletons. And you also get cards like Io, Journey Mage. This card's actually nuts. For 2 mana 1/2, you deal 1 damage to enemy follower, then 1 damage to enemy leader, and then you restore 1 defense to your leader. Hands 5, it does 2 instead of 1. Instead of all the 1s you saw, it does 2 instead, and it also gains +2/+2. And on hands 8, it does the same thing, but you're doing 4 damage and +4/+4 instead. This card is necessary in almost every aggro deck now because it just does a lot for its own mana cost and could be very flexible depending on how late in the game you are in. And lastly, the last new card the deck got was Skullfish. Has a 3 mana 3/2 rush with Necromancy 2, deal 2 damage to enemy leader. It's basically in this deck another copy of Grudge Teller, which is whenever it comes to play, deal 2 damage to leader. They're just 3 drops with 3 attack that deals 2 damage to enemy leader, either coming on into play or dying. So just a lot of added pressure, but this deck still is just revolving around Gold Rush Ghost and Necro Impulse to close out the game. Yeah, and that is basically the gist of Aggro Shadow. Still, Milteo is going to be the most common card within these 3 decks. It is just that broken of a card. It is the centerpiece of Shadow until it gets rotated out because it's just so much value all packed into one single card. Next, we're on to Necromancy Shadow, or better yet, just Grimoire Shadow. This deck is the deck revolving around Grimoire Death Teller. Her skill is she has Invocation at the start of your turn. If you have more shadows than cards in your deck, you invoke this card, and whenever it comes into play, if you have more shadows than cards in your deck, you give the leader following effect. Once on each of your turns, when you perform Necromancy, you gain X shadows and recover X play points. X equals the Necromancy cost. Basically, this deck just wants to turbo out shadows as fast as possible to get Grimoire and then close off the game with basically free Necro Impulses and free Invincible Monster Trios. New cards that got from Eternal Awakening are again Bone Fanatic. It is a cheap 1 mana card that you could play. Helps you in the early game, but one new card that is very popular in most Shadowcraft decks, except for the Aggro Shadow, is Undead Parade. This card is a 1 mana spell, Burial Rite. So you play a minion, for Burrow Right, you play a minion, it's automatically destroyed, but you summon 2 skeletons. But the cool thing about this is that if you Burrow Right at least 5 times, you summon 2 liches instead. So you have a lot of ways to Burrow Right cards in this deck. Demonic Procession is another easy way to get Burrow Right off, but you also have Milteo, which Burrow Rights 2 cards, so it turbos that out much faster. So it's a good way to get just 2 1/1 bodies out on turn 1, but you're going to be Burrow Righting a lot. Of course, the Milteo, Severing Slash, and Demonic Procession, that this will get to summon 2 liches very fast. And then you're going to close out the game by summoning like 2 liches, play Invincible Monster Trios, and just stabilize the board with just a bunch of big creatures. Yeah, we're also playing Jack Shovel Gravedigger as a nice Milteo target to bring back. And plus, by evolving it, it basically gives you 5 shadows because you play 4 assembly droids on Evo. Also a new card, Psychopomp Tour Guide. I forgot what the old card was, but it was a 2 mana 1/2 that had the same effect. But now it's a 2 mana 2/1, which is a lot more easier to kill. But yeah, Fanfare, if you have another ally file in play, destroy 1 and draw 2 cards. Nice way to make more shadows and a very good amount of draw power. Yeah, this is, in my opinion, the strongest build of Shadow they have so far, because it's very consistent. We have a lot of very powerful cards, like Invincible Monster Trio is a very busted card, especially if you get Grimoire off. Milteo, again, very busted card. Fierin, this is not played in the aggro one because you're not summoning as many creatures, you're just playing a lot of good, very strong value creatures on every turn. And Goblin Queen gives you 2 goblins so you can use for your Undead Parades or your Demonic Processions, but you're also using it for the Evolve effect, because it's a very strong turn 4 play if you're on going second, if you're on the Evolve turn. Yeah, this deck is just very solid, very easy to play, and it's very good for what it's worth. And lastly, we have the Burial Rite / combo Shadowcraft deck that has not emerged, but it's just got more consistency with this new set. Of course, this deck is also playing the new Undead Parade because it is a cheap and reliable way to get your Burial Rites off. It's just another way, because you only have 3 Demonic Processions, so basically Undead Parade is your 1 mana Burial Rite copy 4 to 6. And we're also playing some other new cards like Archangel Remembrance. This card is busted. On Fanfare, banish enemy follower 1 defense, and on Evil, you can banish a card in your hand and put a copy of it in your deck and draw 2 cards. So it is draw power, it is removal, all on a 2 mana 2/1 body. It is nuts. And finally, for new cards, we are playing Zaja Delirious Berserker. Is a 4 mana 3/5 ward, already amazing effect, a decent card, sorry. And on Fanfare, you Barrel Right to gain the ability to buffer 0 evolution points, which is nuts. And as well as he evolves for already +2/+2, so there's no nerf to the amount of buff stats it gets, so it's very good. And on top of that, he has Clash, draw a card. So again, these cards are all just more draw power for the deck, which it is desperately needed for this type of archetype. I would say this archetype is the weakest of the 3, because Aggro Shadow closes out games really fast, Necromancy Shadow gets a lot of value. This is a combo deck that needs you to combo off to get your Fatal Orders, your Path of Perdition, and your Deathbringers. Mainly, you're going to be using Deathbringer as your reanimation target. With all the more cheaper Burial Rite cards, you get this out into your grave faster than you could before. And with all the draw power, you can get it as fast as possible with all your combo pieces at a faster pace. So you could have this combo by like turn 8, you turn 7 Path to Perdition, and then you turn 8 Fatal Order, bring back 2 Deathbringers, since you probably have 2 Fatal Orders. And we're also playing a small 2 Gremmaries and 3 Invincible Monster Trios because as a backup win con, because you're going to be bear riding a lot, you're going to be getting a lot of shadows, you're going to be drawing a lot of cards, so you're really going to have the Gremmarie invocation trigger very easily, like Necro Shadow, but you're not reliant on that combo. That's why we're playing 2, because we don't want to draw it. It is a very bad card, drawing it. It's just a 2 mana 1/3 ward. Nothing very special about that. But yeah, this deck just got a bunch more draw power and a lot of consistency options, and that's why this deck is now very viable. But I still see this as making it mainly a tier 2 deck, while the Necro Shadow, the aggro, I see more as a tier 1 deck. And that's pretty much it for the different Shadowcraft decks you could play for rotation post Eternal Awakening. So yeah, please in the comments below, guys, tell me what you guys think of this type of video. I'm glad to be back making videos again. Finally have time. Pretty happy, and I would like to know in the comments what you guys want to see in the future. I'm hopefully going to bring, as you can see in the screen, the next video will most likely be Forestcraft. Forestcraft is very fun, and I can't wait to show you guys a video. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and Gene out.